Today, let us go with one more new important tool, that is a REDIS server. REDIS server. Before we go to this REDIS server, let us understand what is cache. What is this cache is like? Whenever we want to store the data, we are going to have two types of tables. We are going to store the data in the form of tables. That is, every application contains two types of tables. That is, transactional tables and non-transactional tables. Transactional tables and non-transactional tables. When you say transactional tables, we are going to do DML operations like insert, update, and delete. When you go with non-transactional, we mainly do TQL operations like select command. Like examples of non-transaction tables like state table, country table, like this. So where the data is same and we store this data, it's like a static data. So just we store the data in this table. We won't do any operations on these tables. And coming to this transactional tables, examples like you can say student table, employee table, like this, orders table, like this. Now, whenever we are doing some transactions on your database, always remember, like when you do insert or update or delete, or when we do select command, it has to connect to the database and get the records for us. And whenever you make a database call, and this database call is a costly operation. Database call is a costly operation, means it takes more time in order to do this database operations. Why? Because it has to establish the connection. It has to load the driver class, and we have to create statement to execute the statement, closing operations. All these are taking more time. That's the reason database call is costly operation. Now, if the same query is executed multiple times, then it should not connect to a database every time. Whenever we are executing the same query multiple times, it should not connect to the database every time. So once it gets the record, mainly when we go with this select operation, once we get the list of records, like it may be state record or it may be country related. So once you get the list of records, that will be stored in a memory called as cache memory. That will be stored in a memory called as cache memory. If the same query is executed, it won't connect to the database again. It is going to take the result from the cache memory. That is the need of this cache here. That is, the results need to be stored. The results of the query need to be stored in cache memory. And what is the advantage of going with cache memory? When we use cache memory, the performance of the application can be increased. What is the need of going with cache memory? It's mainly to increase the performance of application. So this is the place where we make use of this REDIS server. So REDIS server is mainly to increase the performance of application. So whatever the query we have executed before, if the same query is executed again and again, it's not going to connect to the database again and again. It's going to take the result from cache memory. That is the main thing of going with REDIS server. So what is this REDIS server is? REDIS stands for Remote dictionary, remote dictionary server. REDIS stands for what? Remote dictionary server. REDIS is an open source in-memory data storage. Redis is used as database cache. Redis is used as what? It's used as a database cache. Redis cache is used to improve. Redis cache is used to improve the performance of application. What's the need of going with Redis cache? It's mainly to use it to increase the performance of application. Redis is known for its speed, flexibility, and easy to use. Right? This is the main features of going with Redis server. Right? So when to think of Redis server is like when the relationships are not important, when the transactions are not important, mainly when you are doing with more read operations, you are going to do more of read operations. In that case, it is suggested to use Redis server. Now, how to get this Redis server? Redis server setup. So here we are going to make use of cloud to get this server. So to do is set up Redis database using Redis Cloud. By using Redis Cloud, we are going to do the Redis database setup. So make use of this URL, login URL, https://cloud.redis.io/login. So when we type this URL, it's going to ask you to log in. Okay, use Google account to sign in. You can make use of what? Google account to sign in. So just once we type this URL, it will ask you to choose the account. You can choose any Google account to sign in. Once we sign in, we are going to get this link. This page will be displayed for us. So once this page is displayed, what we need to do is, see here we are having cloud.redis.io. This is Redis Cloud. So in this place, we need to click on this new database. What we need to do? We need to click on this new database. See here, I'm repeating, once we log into this page, use Google account to sign in, then this page will be displayed for us. Here, we have to click on new database. Once we click on this new database, so in order to go with the database, here we are having different plans here, like free plan you can go. So when you go with the free plan, they are going to provide only 30 MB memory. Okay. So when you go with this plan, like $0.007 per hour, they are going to provide 1 to 100 GB. Okay. Right. So we are having different plans over here. So for our case, we are going to choose this free plan. Once we choose this free plan, we have to provide the settings here, like the name of the database and who is going to do the cloud. Who is the cloud vendor here? You can choose Amazon Web Services. You can choose the different cloud vendors like Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. In our case, I'm choosing Amazon Web Services. Then once we choose this cloud server, see what it is going to include. See in free plan, one database it's going to give. We can go with 30 connections and 30 MB RAM. So these features are included in free plan. Our next work is to click on create database. See what we have to do. Once we click on new database, we have to choose the plan. I'm choosing free plan. Then go with any database name. I'm just keeping as it is. Cloud vendor, Amazon Web Services. Just our work is to click on this create database. There. So once we click on create database, see it is generating the endpoint. Okay, and you can even find, see, under security, if you scroll down, you can find the default user. The default username is default here, and it's going to generate a password. It is going to generate the password. So these details are important. In order to connect to this Redis server, we require what? Public endpoint. Copy this. Public endpoint. This is our public endpoint. Then what we require? Username. What is the name? Username here? It is default. Password. You can copy the password from this. Scroll down. Under security, you can see default user password. Copy this password. You can see this password. You can copy this password and paste over here. So these three details are important in order to connect to Redis server from our application. So what details are required? Public endpoint. This is the port number where Redis server is going to run. Okay. Then what we require, username, it will be default, and password, whatever the password is just generated, copy that password. Clear up to here? Any questions? Right? No. Now let us develop a Spring Boot application in order to connect to this Redis server. Developing a Spring Boot application. What is the main need of going with Redis server? Performance. To increase the performance of our application, to reduce the database calls, we are going to use Redis server. Developing a Spring Boot application to connect to Redis server. Creating Spring Starter project in STS. Create a Spring Starter project. So let us go with the name, like I'm saying, Spring Boot Redis. There. Type Maven, Java version 17, group com.rajtech, artifact Spring Boot Redis, package, let me say com.redis. Some package name. Click next. Here we need to add the dependencies. So we are going to add the dependencies like Spring Web. Then next go with the Spring Data Redis. This one we have to choose. Access plus driver ARR. No, this one we have to choose. Spring Data Redis. Then one more we are using Lombok. Okay. So these three dependencies we need to add. Click on finish. Let me document. Name Spring Boot Redis. Type Maven. Java version I'm choosing 17. Group. Some group. Artifact, it takes the name. The package com.redis. Click next. Add the following project dependencies. They are Spring Web. Then next one, Spring Data Redis. You can find access plus driver. Then next one Lombok. Then click finish. Right? Now, once the project is created, we need to add one more dependency explicitly. That is JDIS. JDIS is for user to connect to the Redis server. It's a client application. So for that, what we need to do, add the following dependency in pym.xml file. Open pym.xml file. add one dependency here explicitly. Here already we have added Spring Boot Starter Data Redis, Spring Boot Starter Web, Lombok. Add one more dependency explicitly. That is group ID redis.clients. Redis.clients, it's mainly for client. Then artifact ID JDIS. So this JDIS is mainly to connect to the Redis server. Okay, so this we need to add explicitly. So I'll be sharing the, so I already have documented here. You can find everything there. Now the next step is, now we need to connect to, what we need to do, we need to connect to Redis server. In order to connect to Redis server, these details are important. So for that, update application.properties file. Update application.properties file with the following code, the following properties. So I'm keeping everything in the document so that you can copy from the document. So go to this application.properties file. Here provide the details like spring.data.redis redis.url. So which URL you have to take? This one. Take this URL, endpoint. We have to take this endpoint, not port number. Up to here only we should take. Okay, so provide the URL. The next one, spring.data.redis.port. Take the port number from here. From the document, you can take this port number. So every time it will be different. So what is the port number it has given? That port number only we should take. Spring.data.redis.username. What is the username here? Default. Spring.data.redis.password is, what is the password? Take from the document, this one. Copy this password and paste it here. So remember, this URL is different, port number will be different. So once we created database in Redis server, these values we are going to get. So whatever the values I'm having, don't take that values. So this password will also be different. Okay, so the values will be different in your case. Right? Next step. Once we do this configuration, the next step, create Redis config, create Redis config class to establish connection with Redis server. Create what? A Redis class. So Redis config.java. Here I'm keeping note. URL, port, password will be different. When the Redis server, when the database is created. Okay, remember this one. Don't take these values as it is. Let us create this Redis config class. Let me create in the package class in com.redis package. I click on this com.redis package and it's a new class. Let me go with the name redis config. To finish, do the configuration here. So about this class, we have to use annotation @configuration because it's a configuration class. Then, now here we have to go with the properties, private string URL, private integer port, private string username, then private string password. Then how to take the values into this properties from this application.properties file? How to take is you can use this annotation @value, see here double quotes, dollar, then take the property name. What is the property name? spring.data.redis.url. This property name we should take this one. spring.data.redis.url. That property name you provide here. So whatever the value we have given, that value it's going to store into this property URL. Similar way, @value, dollar, curly braces, spring.data.redis.port. Next one, @value, double quotes, dollar, curly brace, spring.data.redis.username. @value, dollar, curly brace, spring.data.redis.password. That's it. Import the respective packages. So this completes our configuration class. Let me copy this code and provide in the document. Now the next step, one more thing. Still the code is not completed. We need to do one more method here. We have to create one method, that is public JDIS connection factory. JDIS connection factory. So what is the use of this? Mainly to get the connection to Redis server by using JDIS. JDIS means client, Redis is server. So by using this JDIS, we are going to connect to the Redis server and mark it as bin @bin. Now, right here, Redis standalone configuration server config. This is for server configuration equal to new Redis standalone configuration. To this you pass your URL and port. This one. Whatever the URL we have provided, whatever the port we have provided, provide those details. Okay. Next one. By using server config, we are going to set the username. What is that username? Our username. By using server config, we are going to set the password with our password. So we are taking this username and password values to set your server, Redis server. There. Once this is done, now go with the client. JDIS client configuration. JDIS client configuration. Client config equal to JDIS client configuration .builder .build. There. Now say return new JDIS connection factory. To this we need to pass the argument server config and client config. Right? That's it. So this method also we are to include in this Redis config. What is the need of this method? Mainly to get the connection to Redis server using JDIS. JDIS is client, Redis is server.
Raj, hello Raj.
Yeah,
We need to set the username and password for JDs, right?
JDIS. JDIS is not required. JDIS is mainly to get the connection to server. In order to get the connection to server, already the server details are provided, right?
Okay, okay.
Okay. It's only client. So to get the client from client, in order to connect to server, these details are required. So by using JDIS, we are getting connection to server using these properties. Got it now?
Okay, okay, Raj.
Right. The next step, create an entity class product in com.redis package. I'm working in same package, product. Any class you can take. Now, I'm working in same package. Generally, we need to create separate packages for every class, but I'm working in same package. So in this product class, we'll go with the property like private int product ID, private string, product name. Mark it as, now we cannot go with entity now. We have to say @redis hash. What annotation we have to use? Instead of @entity, we have to use Redis hash and go with the name like product hash. This is the name what we are giving to the table over there. Then go with the Lombok annotation @data. That's it. So this completes our what we call, sorry, the entity class. The code is not getting copied. Now the next step, create a controller class, a REST controller class. No, we have to create a repository interface. Product repository in com.redis package. So create the interface. Product repository. Then make this interface implements JPA repository. The entity class name is product. Primary key is integer. That's it. What is the problem? Extends. Right? Interface to interface extends. We did not add. Let us go with card repository. Right. So here we did not add that Spring Data JPA. No, that's the reason it's not coming. So go with card repository. I missed out to add that. Okay. Now the next step, create a REST controller class, product controller in com.redis package. Let us create this class, product controller. How to mark it as a REST controller? By using the annotation @REST controller. Now in this class, let us go with a method here. Let us go with the property product repository. I'm going with the name repo and inject it automatically @autovoid. Now in this class, create one method, public string add product. Public string add product. So we are going to take the product object as a request body. Then by using repo, call the method save and pass your object. This is going to insert the object into the table. Return product added. Now about this, go with post mapping /product. Now let us create one more method. Let us go with a method public list product get all products. Get all products. Here we are going to say return repo dot find all. Use the annotation @get mapping product list. Right? So these are the methods what we have added in the product controller. Now, once this step is done, okay, iterable. So once this step is done, let us run the project. Run this project, right click and say run as Spring Boot app. @ID. Right. Now, here, observe this part. See here, found one Redis repository interface. Okay, that means we have connected to Redis server. So this indicates, by seeing this console, this indicates that we have connected to Redis server. Clear up to here?
Yes, Raj.
Right? Now test the application using Postman as usual. Go to Postman. go with post http://localhost:8080/8080/ what is the pathway of given product. Now come to body raw JSON. Here you provide the what names we have given in product ID. Let me go with some value 101. Then product name. Let me go with some name. Then click on send button. See, product got added. So you can add one more product. 102 mouse. Right now in order to get all the records, what we have to use here, get method, then say product list. So once we say product list, we are going to get the list of products here. Right, we are getting the list of products. Then now what is the use of this Redis server? I can even do this all things by using MySQL database also, right? But when we are using Redis server, performance wise it is more because the data will be stored in the cache memory. So when the data gets stored in the cache memory, when the data will get stored in the cache memory, when we are using the same query, when we are going with the same query, then only the data will be stored in the cache memory. So when the data is stored in the cache memory, the performance will get increased. See here. So what we need to do is, so here, let us go with a method like public product, get product, @path variable, int product ID. Here we'll say return repo.find by ID product ID dot get. Right now, find by ID dot get. Now about this, we have to use the annotation @get mapping product slash product ID. We are taking this product ID as the path variable. Now understand carefully. If I give product ID as 101, then the query will get executed. This query will get executed. Now if I give the same product ID 101, it won't connect to the database in order to get the product now. So when the product ID is same, when we go with the same product ID, like 101, then if the same query is executed again multiple times, it won't connect to the database now. It won't connect to the database in order to get the result. If I go with 102, then again it is going to connect to database to get the result. But again, if second time if I go with 102, again it won't connect to the database. Then how to manage that? How to inform that the result need to be stored in the cache? Above the method we have to use here @cacheable value equal to products, @cacheable value equal to products, and say key is the product ID. So what key it has to store? This product ID it has to store like the key. Okay. Then only whenever we use this annotation, then only if the same product gets repeated again and again, instead of connecting to the database every time, instead of hitting the database every time, it's going to take the result from the cache memory. So that is the benefit of going with what? Redis server. So mainly to increase the performance of your application, when the same query is executed multiple times, it won't hit the database again and again for the same query. Once the query is executed for the first time, the results are stored in the cache memory, and when we use it hit the same query again and again, it won't connect to database. It's going to take the data from the cache memory. So that is the need of making use of Redis server. Got it? Clear at this point?
Yes, Raj.
Right? So this is the code. So once we read this code, run the project as Spring Boot app, test the application using Postman. So all these things you are having idea. Already we have discussed it so many times, right? So that's about the Redis server. Just have a small practice. Like if someone asks you about Redis, do you have some idea? You can say yes, right? So next class will be on Monday. We'll be discussing some other new tool in the next class, right? Thank you very much. See you on Monday. Happy weekend.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.